Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 7 Part 16 based on novel. So let's start. An overwhelming amount of grey chi erupted endlessly from the demonic eye on Lindong's forehead. Immediately, the earth-shattering grey chi congealed into something similar to clouds and blocked the sun, causing the entire sky to turn gloomy. As the grey chi covered the entire sky, an ancient air filled with bleakness erupted and scattered out. Faintly, a roaring cry sounded out once again. Right now, countless experts from all directions were rushing over to this area. After arriving, when they saw several individuals standing around different mountain peaks, they did not dare to stir trouble. Instead, they could only stare in astonishment at the mysterious scene that was unfurling in the sky. The bloodline on Lindong continued to extend while icy chi continuous radiated outwards. It headed towards his eyes in an attempt to corrode them. However, each time it came into contact with his eyes, it would be blocked by a gentle white glow. Although the desolate demon eye was extremely powerful, the price one had to pay to acquire such strength was not trivial. If Lindong did not have the protection of the mysterious stone talisman, perhaps even he would not dare to unleash the desolate demon eye till such an extent. Although it was possible for him to use mental energy to sense his surroundings should he turn blind, he did not want to end up becoming like that blind old man. As those grey clouds were spreading in the sky, the blood glow within his demonic eye suddenly congealed. Turning into a blood-like beam, it shot directly into the thick clouds. Boom! Following the explosive entrance of the blood-like beam, the patch of grey clouds started to wriggle immediately. Gradually, they transformed into a gigantic vortex. A portal that was seemingly connected to the ancient times opened at the center of the vortex. Through the portal, a feeling of a desolate wasteland started to seep through. The moment the vortex gradually grew faint, a gigantic grey shadow seemingly flirted inside. Full of nonsense. However, I don't care how strange your methods are. You are merely at 5 Yuan Nirvana stage. With a cloudy and gloomy face, Luo Yi stared at the thick grey clouds looming above Lindong, while a frostiness flickered within his eyes. Although he had played down Lindong's actions, he felt genuinely uneasy. In fact, the patch of grey clouds caused his heart to feel extremely repressed. I'll butcher this strange brat. Murderous intent flickered within Luo Yi's eyes. Without a shred of hesitation, he grasped the serrated great blade in his hand before boundless Yuan power explosively erupted out. An oppressive pressure started to fill the air, causing the expressions of quite a few surrounding individuals to faintly change. 8 Yuan Nirvana stage. It seems like Luo Yi truly deserved to be ranked 6th on the sect's wanted list. Brat, even if you are a disciple of Dao sect, I will take you life today. A ferocious expression surged on Luo Yi's face. In the next moment, he suddenly took a deep breath. His eyes congealed before an overwhelming amount of blood chi started to howl behind him. Faintly, they transformed into a 10 feet tall blood-red shadow. That blood-red shadow was holding a serrated blood blade and it was filled with blood chi. It seemed as if the entire land was submerged in a sea of blood. Blood Blade Ancestor, this is Luo Yi's signature killing move, Great Azura Blade. In this area, the expressions of the experts who were observing this fight changed due to Luo Yi's move. Surprised shrieks rang out one after the other. It was obvious that they knew about this fearsome attack. Luo Yi is actually forced to use this move just to kill a brat at 5 Yuan Nirvana stage. That brat is really unlucky. Luo Yi previously used this move to completely destroy 5-7 Yuan Nirvana stage experts. Whispering noises spread incessantly throughout the sky. Fluctuations appeared within the eyes of Ying Huan Huan, Jian Kuan, and the rest. All of them stared at the Lindong, who was standing below the expansive grey clouds, while a worried expression fluttered within their eyes. Luo Yi's attack cannot be blocked directly, muttered Jian Kuan in a low voice. Hearing this, a few people nearby who had the same thought nodded their heads. Ying Huan Huan's willowy eyebrows turned slightly limp as she proceeded to bite her lip. Extending her jade hand, an emerald zither appeared in a flash. Before leaving the sect for this mission, the elder had appointed her as their leader. If anything was to happen to Lindong, she truly did not know how to answer to Chen Zhen and Wu Dao. Great Azura Blade, Azura Slash. The blood chi that blotted the sky started to ripple. A ferocious expression appeared on Luo Yi's face as he suddenly took a step forward. With both hands gripping the blade, he slashed down in anger, akin to chopping down a mountain. Roar! The instant that great blade cleaved down, the blood-red shade behind started to wave the gigantic blood blade in its hand. With a blood glow that filled the sky, it brought forth a 300-meter-long wave as well as a heaven-shattering roar, as it chopped down towards Lindong. The surrounding Yuan power exploded. Before the gigantic blood blade glow had even reached the ground, a rapidly growing gigantic fissure had already started to appear on the ground. Lindong raised his head. The incoming gigantic blood blade glow that was growing rapidly in his eyes caused the hairs on his body to stand up. Promptly, his pupils started to harden rapidly. Instantly, his hand seals rapidly changed, causing the grey clouds above him to rapidly split apart. Finally, within the vortex, an incomparable huge shadow made its appearance. With the appearance of the gigantic creature, it instantly blotted out the skies. As its monstrous body covered the sky, it looked just like a primordial super-demonic beast. An aura of desolation and barrenness flooded the horizons. When that mysterious gigantic beast first appeared, it immediately caused countless people to suck in a deep breath. In fact, it even caused the Devil Seal Math's members to have a drastic change in their expressions. Is that the legendary Huang beast? Ying Huan Huan and the rest stared in shock at the colossus creature. They had some understanding of the martial arts of Desolate Hall. However, this was still the first time they had ever seen such a frightening beast from the ancient times. The Huang beast crouched in the skies, while its gigantic eye was tightly shut. A destructive fluctuation gradually started to radiate out from it. Furthermore, under the scattering of this fluctuation, to everyone's bewilderment, they began to realize that its tightly shut eye was slowly opening up. Roar roar! As that gigantic eye slowly opened up, the surrounding Yuan power crazily exploded. In the next instant, the gigantic eye was finally fully opened up. Revealing its murky black pupil, it seemed like the most frightening object in the world. Swoosh! A black beam of light that seemingly absorbed all the light in the universe shot out explosively from the eye. The instant it shot out, the entire world seemed to have darkened. As that beam shot forward, it directly tore a hole through space. Under the shocked gazes of countless people, it collided violently with the incoming blood-red blade glow. Ding! At the moment of the impact, the heavens turned silent. Resplendent energy shockwaves erupted explosively like lustrous fireworks. However, within its beauty was a fluctuation akin to that of a passing death. As the frightening fluctuation surged forth, all the surrounding mountain peaks instantaneously crumbled into dust. A few people, who were standing near the epicenter, were so heavily impacted till they spurted a mouthful of blood. As their auras became dispirited, they frantically retreated with a terrified expression. Lindong was also retreating backwards explosively. Even he felt palpitations in his heart when he saw the frightening winds caused by the expanding fluctuation. Instantly, with a clench of his fist, a green fluctuation rapidly transformed into a green-scaled shield in front of him. Ding! The violent winds viciously slammed against his green-scaled shield, causing Lindong's organs to violently churn. He retreated explosively as his entire arm started to turn numb. If his arm wasn't strong and resilient, his entire arm would have shattered just from a single impact from the incoming fluctuation. The frightening storm winds filled the entire skies for a few minutes before gradually dying down. This entire stretch of the world had been reduced into complete disarray. The forest below had also been wrecked till it turned into a flat piece of land. As everyone gradually regained their clarity and looked at the devastation around them, all of them could not help but take a deep breath of cold air. They turned and stared once again at the youthful figure standing in the sky. However, this time around, there was no taunt or ridicule present within their eyes. A few gazes rested on Lindong for a while before shifting towards Luo Yi on the other side. Right now, the latter's hair was thrown into disorder and his outfit was ripped to shreds. His aura was in turmoil and a trace of shock remained on his face. It was obvious that the previous collision had left him gasping in astonishment. After all, he simply could not imagine how Lindong, who was only at 5 Yuan Nirvana stage, could actually put up such a valiant fight. Are all the Tao sect disciples so powerful? The atmosphere in the sky started to grow quiet. The greed flickering in a few people's eyes had also unexpectedly decreased. Is there anyone else who wants to make a move? While everyone was silent, Lindong took the opportunity to send his frosty and chilly gaze sweeping across everyone akin to a wolf in a prairie. Suppressing the turbulent chi within his body, he refused to reveal a trace of weakness on his face. At the same time, his gloomy voice filled with malevolence resounded across the land. As Lindong's voice scattered across the sky, there was a strange moment of silence instead. Although everyone here was a ruthless individual under Lindong's bone-chilling gaze, even they felt a little fearful. Right now, Luo Yi's facial expression was extremely gloomy. However, this time around, he did dare to speak up. It was obvious that he was still scarred by the vicious attack unleashed by Lindong previously. Lindong's gaze swept ruthlessly across the sky before he gradually retreated. However, just as he was about to turn around and retreat, a cackling laughing finally rang out. Ha ha, when did the Tao sect produce such an outstanding disciple? Although your fiendish look can easily scare others, it will not work on me, Yao Ling. Lindong suddenly stopped and slowly raised his head. Looking up, he saw a black figure quietly appearing on the peak of a mountain not far away. When Lindong saw him, his pupils started to contract. Yao Ling, the chief of the Devil Seal Mass, 4th on the sect's wanted list. In the end, he still showed up. At the moment, Lindong's heart slowly sunk. The black-cloaked figure on the mountaintop slowly appeared in front of the crowd. His black robe covered his face while an icy cold ripple faintly spread stealthily. Yao Ling? Some members of the crowd were stunned and exclaimed in shock when this person appeared. This name possessed quite a strong reputation in Bloodrock grounds. Since he was the 4th on the sect's wanted list, this was enough to cause many fearsome individuals to feel wary of him. Luo Yi and Xiao Qian's expressions also changed at this moment. Their eyes were filled with cautiousness when they looked at this black-cloaked figure. Although they were only ranked a little lower than Yao Ling, they understood that in a real fight, the both of them together would likely be no match against Yao Ling. Ha, even this fellow has appeared. It seems like the Devil Seal Mass really wants the immortal Yuan ancient seed at any cost. Luo Yi's eyes were dark and cold as he laughed softly. He glanced at the distant Lindong with vicious eyes. In his heart, he was secretly gloating because of the latter's predicament. However, he also felt somewhat unhappy. After all, he still felt a little displeased to see the immortal Yuan ancient seed fall into the hands of Yao Ling's group in front of his eyes. Chief! Su Lei's group had faces filled with joy because of Yao Ling's appearance. They swiftly rushed over. Following which, they looked at Lindong's group in a sadistic manner. Yao Ling, Ying Huan Huan, Yuan Fang, Jian Kuan, and the others' expressions gradually turned ugly when Yao Ling appeared. Although they knew that Yao Ling would definitely appear, their hearts still involuntarily sunk a little when they saw him in flesh. They were clearly well informed about this fellow, who was ranked 4th on the sect's wanted list. 9 Yuan Nirvana stage was sufficient to oppress everyone here. Yao Ling was once a deacon of the Yuan Gate and his status surpassed disciples like them. With his strength, one could count the number of disciples in Tao sect who could fight evenly with him on one hand. Moreover, this fellow was not alone. His subordinates were also a group of extremely fearsome people with notorious reputations. The leader of Devil Seal Mass Ha. Lindong's eyes also stared intently at the figure that was completely wrapped in a black robe. His eyes were incomparably grave. From the latter's body, he could sense a rich feeling of danger. Lindong might not be afraid of Luo Yi. However, at this moment, even he felt some uneasiness bubbling within his heart. After all, given his current strength, there was simply too large of a gap when compared with 9 Yuan Nirvana stage. You are called Lindong, right? The champion of the 100 Empire War. Ha ha, how unexpected. The champion of the 100 Empire War this time around actually chose to join Tao sect. Standing on top of the mountain, Yao Ling gently raised his head before he revealed his pale and shady face. A pair of indifferent eyes were locked onto Lindong from under the black robes as he laughed faintly. Lindong focused his eyes. Clearly, he did not expect that Yao Ling would actually be able to recognize him immediately. Yao Ling, this immortal Yuan ancient seed is discovered by our Dao sect first. We have already transmitted the news back. Soon, experts from our Dao sect will arrive. This is not something that you can touch. Yuan Fang cried out in a deep voice. Ha ha, it doesn't matter. All I need to do is finish all of you off before the experts from Dao sect arrive. Yao Ling smiled slightly and spoke in a casual manner. You should also stop using the Dao sect to intimidate me. Others might be afraid of your Dao sect, but I, Yao Ling, don't give a damn. Yuan Fang became furious. However, she immediately suppressed her fury forcefully and laughed coldly. You can gloat now. However, you will definitely regret it in the future. Lindong knitted his brows tightly. Earlier, he had taken much pains to use the desolate demon eye to force Luo Yi back and intimidate the rest. However, it was all for naught now that Yao Ling appeared. Lindong, await my orders and prepare to retreat. Ying Huan Huan's soft voice suddenly resounded beside Lindong's ear while this thought lingered his heart. Lindong's eyes shrunk upon hearing this before he nodded quietly. Currently, it was unwise for them to stay on any further. Once Yao Ling appeared, they lost any advantage they previously had. Hence, they could only choose to retreat. However, would Yao Ling allow them to withdraw peacefully? Lindong's eyes flashed while he sighed quietly in his heart. Yao Ling extended his hand while he stood on the distant mountaintop. He slowly pulled off the black robe that covered his face. After which, he revealed his pale white middle-aged face. His eyes were deep and his gaze was so sharp that they appeared like blades, cutting painfully into one's skin. Friends, this immortal Yuan ancient seed is something that my Yuan gate desires. Therefore, I hope that everyone can stand by idly today. My Yuan gate will definitely reward everyone in the future. Yao Ling's eyes swept over this entire place first. After which, he cupped his hands together towards these people and laughed faintly. Yao Ling had directly mentioned Yuan Gate when he spoke. As the strongest sect in Eastern Xian region, the weight of his words was extraordinary. Hence, the expressions of quite a number of people changed when his voice sounded out. However, no one dared to object. This was because both the strength of Yao Ling and the might of Yuan Gate were things that they could not afford to offend. A smile was revealed on Yao Ling's face when he saw this silent atmosphere. Immediately he turned his head and stared at Lindong's group. He extended his hand and said with a smile, "Hand that thing over. All of you should be aware of my character. I have never shown mercy in the past and I will not start doing it now. If it is really necessary, I do not mind turning this place into a bloody river." Ying Huan Huan and the rest's eyes shrunk slightly when they heard this while their expressions were in flux. Promptly, they took 2 steps forward, while a desperate expression appeared to flash across their faces. However, just as Yao Ling thought that they were about to give in, chillness suddenly surged within Ying Huan Huan's eyes. Her icy cold cry resounded over the place, "Run!" Boom! The moment her voice sounded, Ying Huan Huan's hand suddenly landed on her emerald-like zither. After which, her zither strings vibrated swiftly. A bright green sonic wave swept out like a great ocean wave. This sonic wave did not appear to possess a strong offensive strength. However, it caused anyone who heard it to be momentarily stunned. It was this short instant that the Dao sect's disciples below scattered apart at the same time. After which, they became just like a locust as they rushed off in all directions. This event took place so suddenly. No one expected 100 Dao sect's disciples would scatter so decisively. By the time some people recovered their senses, most Dao sect's disciples had already rushed into the forest and swiftly disappeared. Their speed involuntarily caused some people to be stunned. Go! Hovering in midair, Ying Huan Huan, Jian Kuan, and the other core disciples also took off at the same time. However, they did not scatter. This was because they clearly understood that while ordinary disciples would be able to retreat easily, they would definitely be targeted by Yao Ling's group. Today, I want to see where all of you can flee to. Yao Ling had also completely recovered at this moment. His eyes were dark and cold as he glared at Ying Huan Huan, Lindong, and the rest who had rushed off. A ferocious smile immediately appeared on his face. Follow them. The immortal Yuan ancient seed is with them. Yao Ling waved his hand and laughed coldly. Yes. Su Lei and the rest also replied with a savage smile when they heard Yao Ling's cold laughter. After which, their bodies rushed out. They directly carried a rushing wind sound before they chased after Lindong's group. Swoosh! Yao Ling's body also disappeared at this moment. His body turned into a bright light that rushed outwards. Swoosh swoosh swoosh! After the people from the Devil Seal mass gave chase, the surrounding observers also swiftly moved. Although the immortal Yuan ancient seed was currently being targeted by Yao Ling, they were unwilling to give up so easily. Under the whistling of the large-scale number of people that covered the sky, the sound of rushing wind appeared one after another. All the natural Yuan power appeared to boil at this moment. A couple of humans rushed over the sky of the mountain range, while they were accompanied by a hurried rushing wind sound. Their eyes would occasionally sweep over the area behind them. All of them had grave expressions on their faces. We will not be able to shake them off if this continues, Yuan Fang clenched her teeth and said. Lindong also nodded slightly. He could sense that Yao Ling's aura was getting increasingly close to them. Jian Kuan and the rest was silent, while the expression in their eyes were a little gloomy. Being chased truly felt unpleasant. Ying Huan Huan hugged her emerald-like zither. Her eyes were lowered and a glow flashed over it. Promptly, her body suddenly paused. She clenched her silver teeth and said, I will stop them. All of you should go. Jian Kuan, Yuan Fang, and the rest's expressions changed when they heard this. They were just about to object when Ying Huan Huan glared at them. Promptly, her tone became much calmer. Do any one of you possesses the ability to stop Yao Ling's group? Jian Kuan and the rest were at a loss for words. The gap between them and Yao Ling was too large. Even if they risked their lives to stop him, it was likely difficult for them to accomplish much. If you think that there is still time to continue chatting, you can continue to do so. Ying Huan Huan turned around and sat down on a stone. Her emerald zither was placed in front of her. After which, she extended her hand and gently swept past those dark black horsetail strings. Immediately, green threads poured down. They became like a waterfall as they slowly danced in the wind. Jian Kuan and the others involuntarily clenched their fists when they saw the alluring young lady figure. Let's go. Lindong's eyes stared deeply at the figure. However, contrary to expectations, he did not speak up at all. Instead, he turned around and left. Jian Kuan and the rest's expressions changed for a moment before they finally clenched their teeth, turned around and left. Lindong, bring the seed back. Ying Huan Huan's hands gently pressed her zither when she sensed the group leaving swiftly. A red glow gradually surged within her clear eyes, while a soft cry was also quietly being emitted. A lush green color spread on the top of the mountain. Finally, it was extended to the edge of one's sight. Looking from a far distance away, this place looked just like a green sea. Ying Huan Huan sat quietly on the green stone. Her originally dark black ponytail was currently pouring down like a waterfall. After which, a gentle wind blew towards her straight, narrow and delicate waist. Her black hair danced, emitting a faint fragrance. The young lady's flawless hand gently strummed the emerald-like zither. After which, she slowly raised her pair of bright large eyes before she looked towards the sky. A hurried rushing wind sound that was accompanied by waves of fearsome aura swiftly emerged from that area. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The rushing wind sound swiftly tore through the quiet sea of trees. After which, numerous figures swiftly rushed over from the distant sky. Finally, they slowly came to a halt some distance from the mountain peak. Ha ha, each of these Dao sect disciples is more arrogant than the next. Yao Ling slowly revealed himself. He stared at Ying Huan Huan, who was sitting on the mountain peak, and involuntarily laughed. Immediately, he shook his head and said, if you think that I, Yao Ling, Someone who will go easy on a lady, I'm afraid that you will be very disappointed. Ha ha, this girl looks quite juicy. Why don't we snatch her and bring her back? An expert from the Devil Seal Mass laughed in a strange manner. His eyes were sweeping over Ying Huan Huan's lovely body without fear. There were quite a number of people who were following closely behind. They also emitted a strange laughter when they saw this scene. Su Lei, finish her off. The others will follow me and give chase. The immortal Yuan ancient seed is not with her. Yao Ling glanced at Ying Huan Huan in an indifferent manner. After which, he waved his hand and spoke faintly. However, his voice had just sounded when the young lady in white clothes and green pants laughed in a lovely manner. Her hands flew over her zither strings. Threads of unusual red glow surged out from her large dark black bright eyes. You have really overestimated yourselves. If you want to cross this area, wait until you can pass through my zither formation. The lovely laughter had just sounded out when Ying Huan Huan's pretty face slowly turned icy cold. Waves after waves of extremely powerful ripples slowly surged out from within her body. That level was fast approaching that of an 8-yuan nirvana stage. Just this level? However, Yao Ling merely laughed coldly when he saw this scene. Ying Huan Huan lowered her eyes. She ignored him before her delicate hand suddenly pressed onto the zither strings. Bright red fresh blood seeped out from her palm almost instantly. It was as if her emerald-like zither had been dyed blood red at this moment. Bloody light surged on the zither after it was dyed blood red. An unusual ripple was also quietly emitted while this blood glow flickered. Attack! Something is not quite right with this girl. Yao Ling's eyes shrunk slightly upon seeing this. An uneasiness suddenly surged out from his heart as he immediately cried out in a stern voice. Swoosh! His cry had just sounded when standing behind him, Su Lei quickly rushed out like an arrow. He clenched his large hand before wild and violent Yuan power gathered. A fist smashed violently towards Ying Huan Huan. Formless body sound. Ying Huan Huan raised her eyes slightly while she stared calmly at the incoming Su Lei. After which, a gentle voice was slowly emitted from her mouth. Ying Huan Huan raised her head. Her lips were curled slightly as she laughed immediately. It is unexpected that you have such a great understanding of my Dao sect's martial arts. You are indeed worthy of being a deacon of the Yuan Gate. Little girl, you should stop using that razor-sharp tongue in front of me. The formless body sound is indeed powerful, but you must be out of your mind if you think that you can stop us by yourself. Yao Ling cried out coldly. Attack together with me. I want to see just how she will block us. Yao Ling's cry had just sounded when he took charge and rushed over. His 9-yuan nirvana stage aura appeared to cause even the entire mountaintop to tremble. Ying Huan Huan looked at Yao Ling, who had finally attacked before her eyes gradually turned grave. Immediately, she inhaled a deep breath of air. The back of her teeth bit her red lips and a trace of fresh blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth. Formless body sound, all beings form. A soft voice was once again emitted from Ying Huan Huan's mouth. Monstrous blood-red light swept out at this moment. Finally, it actually agglomerated into a huge bloody ancient body tree. The ancient tree shook gently and its leaves rustled. A melodious sound that seemed as though the world had just been born was slowly emitted. A unique sonic wave swiftly spread and covered the entire area. After which, it suddenly halted in front of Yao Ling's group, which had charged forward. The space began to slowly distort in front of them and it appeared to form an invisible mirror. In fact, their own images were reflected in the mirror. Kai Kai? The mirror shook. After which, the human figures within slowly walked out to their bewilderment and appeared in front of them. The formless body sound is indeed frightening. Yao Ling's eyes shrunk when he saw the identical human figure in front of him. Immediately, his eyes looked towards the green mountain. A blood-red body tree sat in front of that young lady. The blood trace at the corner of her lips was becoming increasingly prominent. Swoosh swoosh. Many figures rushed out explosively in the sky. The few of them did not even utter a single word. The atmosphere was so tense that it caused one to be unable to breathe properly. These few people were Lindong, Jiang Kuan, and the others, who had separated from Ying Huan Huan earlier. Swoosh! A human figure that had rushed out paused suddenly. Those few of the at the front also sensed something. They immediately halted their bodies and looked at Jiang Kuan, who had lagged behind. Are we simply going to leave her behind like this? Jiang Kuan clenched his fist tightly. His voice had turned much more hoarse. Yao Ling and Yao Fang were silent. There was a painful expression flashing across their eyes. What do you propose then? Lindong softly asked. Can you still call yourself a man? You are abandoning her at that place alone at such a moment. How could she possibly defeat Yao Ling's group? How can we account to our seniors and juniors by simply leaving like this? Jiang Kuan raised his head. His expression was savage as he roared at Lindong. Therefore, we should remain and fight together with her, end up losing our lives and even deliver the immortal Yuan ancient seed to Yao Ling for him to bring it back to Yuan Gate, so that Yuan Gate can become even more powerful. Lindong calmly glanced at Jiang Kuan, who had lost control of himself, and slowly asked. Jiang Kuan was also stunned when he saw Lindong's calm demeanor. Immediately, he lowered his head painfully and grabbed it firmly with his hands. Jiang Kuan, Junior Lindong cannot be blamed for this matter. Yao Fang softly said. Let's go. If anything happens to Huan Huan, I will be irreconcilable enemies with Yuan Gate. Yao Ling grabbed Jiang Kuan's arm. His eyes were also a little red as he spoke in a deep voice. Jiang Kuan was being pulled to his feet in a numb manner by Yao Ling. After which, he followed the latter while being at a loss. Lindong watched these few dispirited people while a ripple rose within his calm eyes. He immediately sighed softly and flipped his hand. An emerald green seed appeared. After which, he threw it directly at Yao Fang. Lindong, you. Yao Fang was stunned as she stared at Lindong, after having received the immortal Yuan ancient seed from the latter. He is right. We are really unable to account to the rest by returning in such a manner. Lindong shrugged his shoulders. He was clearly aware of the popularity Ying Huan Huan enjoyed within Dao sect. If news of this matter was to spread after they returned, it was likely that the gazes from the others would cause one to feel terrible, even if they could understand the situation. I will return to look for her. All of you should leave with the seed. Lindong did not hesitate as he turned around and left immediately. His back appeared unusually suave and free. Lindong. Yao Fang looked at the skinny back of the young man and suddenly cried out. Immediately, she rubbed her eyes and said, "Bring her back." Lindong did not turn his head around as he merely waved his hands. Immediately, he raised his head and exhaled a deep breath of air. This time around, he would really have to go all out. This video will end here.